Welcome to Room Service. I'm Sarah Richardson. Is your small space cramping your decorating style? Well, this pint-sized kitchen opens up with a cool, watery palette. Earns its stripes from a unique flooring solution. And gets organized with a project that doesn't take a superhero to make. We're performing a small miracle on a tight budget, and it's only on Room Service. How small a kitchen can get? Well, this kitchen that I'm standing in is all of 7 feet wide by 11 feet long. So there is not a lot of room to move, and there isn't a whole lot of opportunity for change in here. Our client purchased this about a year ago, and this used to be an apartment building that has been turned into a condominium. So we have a free rein to do whatever we want in here to change it. However, the challenge is that everything's sort of in the best possible place. We have 2 doors coming into this kitchen and not a whole lot of space. I don't think there's anything really wrong with these cabinets except for the fact that they're painted sort of bandage beige, which wouldn't be my first choice. So I think we will repaint these cabinets. A couple little adjustments need to be made here and there just to make sure that they're all sitting straight, but they are a good solid cabinet. So by painting them and attaching new hardware, we'll be able to achieve a dramatic effect. Another really important thing to change is going to be the countertop. It's been used as a chopping board and also got a little bit burned from years of use. So I think we need to focus on changing this to something else. I'd like to see a backsplash installed to give a little bit of sparkle. Plus, we don't have a lot of room here for the faucets. Basically, everything here is a little bit outdated. The one thing I do want to keep for sure is this great vintage stove, which I think is just so neat, and there's nothing wrong with it. So we are going to work around that. At some point, if the stove gives out, they may have to replace the counters, but we'll hope that it holds on for a little bit longer. Also, the floor could use an update, and this is a pretty small square footage area. So I think we can do something in a vinyl composite, something in a linoleum that has some color. Color is going to be key. I'd like to work this wine fridge. This is something our client brought along with him when he moved into the space, and this is a treasured item. So we'll reorient it and stick it underneath the counter here, and then add some additional shelving. I'm thinking some floating shelves to go up the wall and sparkly light overhead, something that will accent and make it seem a little bit bigger because it couldn't seem much smaller right now. So we're gonna do as much as we can for as little as we can. Shouldn't every kitchen, regardless of size, be as bright, sparkly, and effervescent as a tall glass that comes directly from the spring? We're aiming to make even a small space feel clear and cool, inspired by ice and glass, rippled textures, and floating bubbles in watery shades of cool blue. Outdated colors will give way to a new scheme that is subtle and seamless, a treat to the eyes and the senses that provides refreshment with a gourmet twist. You know, shopping isn't always glamorous. Sometimes you'll find that just going to your local building supply store will have all the things that you need for a project. I'm going to make a bar countertop to go in our little tiny kitchen, and I thought I'd come here first to see what I could find. Kitchens, tile, wallpaper, storage. Here we go. All right, I'm on the hunt. I need some shelving units that are going to support the bar counter that I'm going to bring in our little kitchen. I want something that's going to be low, and I want it to act more like a counter. We've got a 3-shelf trolley here. and this is industrial shelving. The advantage about this type of shelving is that it holds about 850 pounds per shelf. This is ideal. We won't be putting anywhere near that type of weight, but it's got 3 adjustable shelves. It's already at about counter height. It has this handle on the end, but we're not going to need that, because if I were to use this, I would need 2 of these, put them on either end. We'd snug them into the wall. They've got locking wheels, which is a real advantage here. And we can put one on one end, one on the other end, and I can put a counter across the top. This will allow storage of pots and pans, large dishes. You can even use it for recycling. So I think that's the solution. Good price point, good idea, and it goes with the look. All right, now I don't want to use plywood for the top because it's too rough. Instead, what I want, I think, is to use MDF because it'll have a very smooth surface. And that way I can paint it to tie it in with my cabinets. Here we go. Okay, so MDF is medium density fiberboard, and it comes in different thicknesses. I think I'll go for the 3/4 inch. As you can see, it has a perfectly smooth top on it, and when you cut it, you can get a really clean edge, so I'll be able to sand it. Now, I need a length that is 69 inches, which means I'm gonna have to buy an entire sheet, which is 4 by 8 feet, but that's okay because I can use the rest of it for other projects. It's great for shelving. You can make little tabletops out of it. I'm sure I'll be able to find a use for the extra. So I will get some strong guy to come and help me, and we'll take a sheet of this, and then all I need is a trim piece. So I'll go find my trim and then come back for this. Where on earth is the trim? Okay, so here I am in the trim department. Here we go. This sort of profile, this is a 1 by 2, and it's 8 feet long, and this will make our countertop look a little bit more substantial and just have a clean profile. You could choose to use a more decorative trim, but I want a really clean line. We're gonna go with a square edge on our countertop that we're installing, so I wanna also make a square edge on the counter that I'm making. I'll need 1 8-foot long strip because I've got a 69-inch long counter, and it's gonna be about 16 inches deep. So 1 4-foot strip will do. Now I'll go back and pick up my MDF. I've got my sheet. I'm here at the saw just waiting to get it cut down. I'll take all the supplies and I'll see you back at the office to put it all together. I'm guessing the first thing you've noticed is that we have said goodbye to turquoise in this kitchen, and we've replaced it with a much softer and cooler color palette. We've used 3 different tones. The first is called Manchester, and it is, I'd say it's the color of a rainy day in Great Britain, so it is a well-named color. It's kind of a gray-green. The walls are painted in a color called Solitary, which is a little bit more on the green side, still with a hint of gray undertone, and the ceiling is called Hearthstone, a blue-gray. So all are in the cool palette, but they are much lighter than what was here before, and they work well, especially when we're going to be introducing some silvery accents. I've got chrome mini accessories here, the coffee maker and toaster. They're going to add a bit of shine to this kitchen because that's always important. I've picked up some new dishes. I have an 8-foot long track light that I'm going to run across the ceiling here, which will allow me to direct light down and spot it on the accessory shelves, which I want to install on that wall. So there'll be some open shelves, and that'll create some really interesting light patterns there. My footrest is actually a roll of kitchen counter surfacing material, which I am going to have fabricated into a new countertop here, which is key because these ones are looking a little bit tired. You can see I've set up one of the carts that I got when I was out shopping, and I intend to build a sort of bar counter, serving counter on top of them, so still have to get to that. And flooring, I've got something in mind for the flooring that is going to be a really dramatic graphic print on the floor. That's going to be pretty exciting. So for a little space, we've made some good changes so far. We've got a lot more still to do, but when it all comes together, it is going to be so chic. When it comes to the kitchen, your countertops can be used to make a bold design statement. You can choose from natural stone, stainless steel, solid surfacing, or even go with plastic laminate. Did you know that plastic laminates have actually been around for over 85 years and were originally created by using a piece of fabric and coating it with resin to create a plasticky finish? Well, now there are hundreds of colors and textures that range from metal to corrugated, wood, glass, slate, gauze, and even a weave. I've actually chosen to go with this for our countertop for the texture that it will give. So whether you want to go with blue or green or red or yellow, you can choose any color of the rainbow for your kitchen. Okay, now Graham, I know that the kitchen is always the most popular place in a party, but I didn't actually realize there'd be so many of us in here during installation. Can you tell me a little bit about the floor that we're putting down?
This is the Marmoleum product. It's been around for literally a century and a half. We've been making it for quite some time, but as you can see, the colors are wonderful. It's a great choice for a kitchen. Small wonder that the party's in here.
Yes.
We've got Marmoleum on the floor.
Small wonder, small kitchen, right. Marmoleum going on the floor. And has it always been called, what does Marmoleum actually stand for?
Actually, Marmoleum is our trade name. It stands for marbleized linoleum.
Now, in this kitchen, we started with an old vinyl tile floor.
Yes.
And what are the stages of preparation that we've gone through to get it to the point where it's ready to accept the new floor?
Well, you're only ever as good as the quality of your subfloor. Mm-hmm. So Marmoleum will effectively go over plywood, which is more typical in a residential application. In this particular installations, we had vinyl tiles down on concrete. The best results will occur when we remove the existing floor finish. Mm-hmm. We patch over that with a preparation product, cementitious, so not gypsum.
What would have happened if we had just put this Marmoleum right on top of the old tile floor?
Well, if the old tile floor was very well bonded, no problem.
Okay, and if it wasn't?
If it wasn't, then you would have wasted your good money because the actual adhesive is very strong and it actually could pull the old flooring up.
Oh, and what about the aspects of being able to create a pattern? Is that one of the main features of this material?
I would certainly say so. You can keep your space simple, go with one of our attractive colors, but
how many colors are there?
Well, we've got 160 colorways,
okay.
So you've got so much variety. Your options are wide open in terms of putting a design together. So you've got a nice, attractive design here with just 4 colors.
We've chosen a very simple graphic pattern here.
Yeah.
We wanted it to look kind of like a barcode, so we've used subtle variations of the colors that we're using throughout the kitchen. But are you limited to just doing straight bands, or can you do other patterns?
You are only limited by your imagination and your budget.
Okay.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Darn. Don't be limited at all. Okay.
That's right.
Well, it looks like these guys are moving our way quickly, so we should, I think we'll hop to the other side and let them continue, but thanks so much for all the great information.
Thank you.
The carts that I found when I was out shopping are going to be a tremendous addition to our tiny little kitchen. They're going to be the basis for creating a sort of bar area, extra prep area, and extra counter space in this little kitchen. That's a big job for 2 little carts, I'd say. Here's what my plan is. I'm going to create a counter that is 67 inches long overall. I've started out by using 1 sheet of 3/4 inch thick MDF. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a border around my MDF using 1x2 pine. My carts are 14 inches deep from front to back, so I've allowed 15 inches for my sheet of MDF, just to allow a little bit of flexibility, because there will be the baseboard that the wheels will be hitting, and I don't want this to be too tight, and I want to sit nice and flush to the wall. So I decided to wrap my trim around 3 sides and leave the back side open so that it can be bolted to the wall using an L bracket. That'll just keep it being sort of more like an installed counter as opposed to being a freewheeling shelf. Now, here we go. Time to start attaching these pieces. I'm going to use some carpenter's glue, and whenever you're attaching 2 surfaces together with wood, you want to put a bead of glue. So here we go. Okay, next thing is line up my piece of wood. We want the pine and the MDF to sit perfectly flush on the top. I'm I'm gonna put the first nail in just to hold it in place. Now, you don't want to hammer these nails in too deep. I'll be using a countersink at the end just to set them all down, but we don't want to bash the board. Next thing will be to put one on the other end to hold our piece of wood in place. You want to work with the ends first, and then you can work back into the middle. So now I'm just countersinking these nails, and let me show you how it works. You just line the countersink up on the top of the nail, tap gently, and it sets it down without bashing the wood. Then we can fill it with wood filler after. Now I can attach the side pieces. Just to show you in case you're curious, you can see this is perfectly flush here and it's all lined up. We'll use a small bead of wood filler later on. Oops, probably better not to glue vertically. Great. The final step before painting and priming, or priming and painting, is to use a bit of wood filler on all of the joints and to also fill in the holes. My primer is dry. I've sanded it in between both coats and given it a light sanding overall to take out any brush marks. Now I'm gonna paint it using some of the leftover paint from the cabinets, which is a melamine paint, and before long, this counter will be in place and ready to serve. Try perking up your kitchen with a fresh approach to coffee by using the French press system. This classic chrome chambord was originally made in a small clarinet factory in Normandy. It now epitomizes the creme de la creme of French coffee traditions. In fact, any of these examples will make for a morning cup that offers a fine sense of style. Coarsely ground beans brew for about 4 minutes before the metal mesh filter is plunged down to release the most dynamic flavor. Next. Okay, before this kitchen party gets underway, I just want you to have a little bit of a flashback and remember what this teeny tiny kitchen used to look like. And when you do, I think you will agree with me that we've performed nothing short of a small miracle, and we've done it on a budget. Now, there were some things I couldn't do. I couldn't make this kitchen bigger. It's only 6 by 11 feet. But what we did do was just about everything else we could think of. And I know that you want to turn your eyes down towards the floor and see what it looks like now that it's installed. So we've used a series of 4 different colors, 2 in the sort of greeny range, 1 a more neutral color with hints of green, and the last one a smoky blue with a touch of purple in it. And then what I did was I ended up using all of those colors. One of the greens represents the color on the cabinets, the other is the color of the walls. The more yellowy color happens to be the color of the countertops, and that dark blue is brought in just as a few accents. The key to creating an interesting look in a small space like this is layering a collection of colors one on top of the other, yet all of them similar and related in some way. Then it was all about the cabinets, and I hope I will convince you that you do not need to replace all your cabinets. You don't need to renovate. Sometimes just repainting does the trick as well. What we've done is a couple of coats on all of the cabinetry, top and bottom, but one of the key elements is the new hardware. We've gone with a small knob on the top, and then we've used a pull on the bottom. And the pull is an extra wide, it's 12 inches, and it has a very contemporary look. And the hardware does a lot for sort of tying together the whole look. You'll see that brushed finish is also picked up both on the wine fridge and then on a new faucet that I put in here. I chose to bring in a new sink and new faucet when we replaced the countertops, just so that it all felt crisp and fresh and new. Another thing that I did was I installed a backsplash, and there was no backsplash here before. What I've used is a 1-inch glass mosaic tile. Now, these mosaic tiles used to be quite expensive because they were only available from Italy. Well, the good news is that now they're available from Mexico, and you can get them at a price of about $10 a square foot, which may still seem a little bit high if you were going to do an entire kitchen or a bathroom. However, if used just on a backsplash, you only need a few square feet of tile, and it pulls that look together and it gives it that edgy contemporary feel. Not to mention it makes it sparkly. Now, another thing that I am quite proud of that wasn't an indulgence at all, in fact it fit well within the budget, was the bar counter that I made. Yes, I made it. The countertop has now been painted. I just used the extra paint that was left over from the kitchen cabinets, and as you can see, it's held in place on top of the 2 bar carts that I bought. Now, the great thing about one of these carts is that they come with handles on them, so I've used it to create a towel bar on this end. There's enough space to set it up as a bar for entertaining, or to be the sort of daily coffee and breakfast station at this end. It takes all of the pressure off this other side counter, which means it can be kept really clean and stark and ready as a prep surface instead. I've installed a couple of floating shelves here, and I've staggered them, and this allows enough height for tall glasses and stacks of dishes, but by leaving the bottom one set out from the other 2, it gives me some extra room so that you can put out a vase of flowers if you're entertaining, or some taller objects if you want to have things there. Even a small piece of artwork could rest there all the time. So what we've done is we've used a collection of different blues and greens, all cool colors, quite steely, added some sparkly halogen lighting, and in the end, this kitchen ends up being as refreshing as a tall drink of water. I'm Sarah Richardson, and I hope you'll join me next time on Room Service.